Rashi, one of his interpretations, the Agadlo Shmecho, I will add a hey to your name, and you become Avraham. And Rashi cites the Chazal, it's a Medrash, that until Avram was circumcised, he was not in full control over every aspect of his body. But after he was circumcised, he was in control over even parts of his body that he wasn't in control of until that moment. We find the gematria of Avraham is Ramach, the 248 parts of the person's body. So until he was circumcised, he was not in control over his eyes, his ears, V'rosh Hagviyah, and his male organ. That means his sexual drive. But now that you're circumcised, he's control over these 5 parts of his body which was not in control. Now he's a sholem, he's complete, he's fully in control. Based on what we had said, that the Milah actually curbs and minimizes the effect of the Eitz Hadas, the evil of the Eitz Hadas on the person. And because of that, he's able to have Bechira, he's able to have choice. As we mentioned, Or Chaim HaKodesh in a number of times, but he mentions it he explains it in Tazria, where it says the male child that's born on the 8th day, you should circumcise the foreskin of his flesh. Over there he says that the Milah was given to us, it's a tikkun, it's a correction in the Chet of Adam Rishon, in the sin of Adam, that when he ingested that fruit that contains evil, until then, before he ate, he had full control over every aspect of his being. Once he ate that evil, now the influence is so overwhelming that the many areas he has no control over. The Milah, removing that foreskin, minimizes that effect. Therefore, you have more control. And therefore, a Jew at Sinai, where it was Poskazu Mosan, that we were exposed to that presence of Hashem vaporized the evil and what the snake had done to Chava, the spiritual pollution. Now we have full control over every aspect of ourselves. And therefore, a non-Jew only has Shem Mitzvah Noach, because a non-Jew is fully affected, impacted by the evil of the Eitz Hadas. He's not able to be given anything other than the Shem Mitzvah Noach. Now, Chazal tell us that, before we tell you what Chazal tell us, the Ramban writes regarding what the Torah tells us, Umol Hashem es levav zerecha. Hashem will circumcise the foreskin of your heart and the hearts of your children. What is this referring to? He says, before the Chet of Adam Rishon, before Adam ate the tree of knowledge, man naturally did good. The heart only was drawn towards good, not towards evil. Once he ingested the fruit of the tree of knowledge, according to Ramban, the heart now desires and yearns for stealing, sexual involvement, and things which are contrary to spirituality. Umol Hashem es levavcha, at the time of Mashiach, Hashem will bring evil to an end. The heart will no longer yearn or want to have any association with that. It will only naturally do the will of Hashem as it was before the Chet of Adam Rishon. Those are the Ramban's words. So that's the circumcision of the heart. The heart will no longer lust for everything which it should not lust for, because the heart initially lusted only to do the will of God. Okay. Now, Chazal tell us that the heart lusts, and the Sirsurei Halev, the agents, the brokers of the heart, are the eyes. The heart lusts sex and amassing wealth, which is power. And this allows the person, that's the reason why a person is challenged. Should I steal? Should I not steal? Should I cross lines regarding certain relationships? That's what it's all about. So the heart lusts, the eye seeks out what the heart lusts, opportunities to do the wrong thing and to cross lines you shouldn't cross. That introduces the Bechira. Because now I'm challenged, because the eye is looking and you come upon things that you shouldn't come upon. So the eyes are the brokers of the heart. Until Avram was circumcised, the heart lusted at a level that when those eyes sought out this desire, this lust, it was uncontrollable. When it would find it, man could not control it. The moment Avram was given the mitzvah of circumcision, he was at a level that the milah minimized the effect of the Eitz Hadas, the evil of the tree of knowledge. The intensity of that lust is not at that same level. As a result of that, you can control it. So the heart, the eyes do not seek out as before the circumcision, as what they seek out afterwards. Afterwards, they don't seek out. Because it's not the intensity of that desire is no longer the same. It's controllable. Therefore, when Avram was given the mitzvah of milah, now he's control of those 5 areas that he wasn't in control of. The eyes are what they seek out, what they should not seek out, which is contrary to the will of Hashem. At a level that you have no control. Now I have a control what my eyes seek out, because my heart no longer lusts after the effect of the Eitz Hadas has been minimized. Those eyes don't seek it out in the same way. Once you control that, you take control over your sexual drive, what you hear, which is always, you hear things that you shouldn't hear, which draws you to areas. So now you're in full control over those 5 areas. Now you're Ramach. Now Avram became the full total person that he's fully in control of every part of his existence. Okay, Parshas Vayera. Vayera Elav Hashem Be'elonei Mamrei. Hashem appeared to Avram in the plains of Mamre. And he was sitting at the entrance of his tent at the hottest part of the day. Rashi, we find there's no communication at this point between Hashem and Avram. He appeared to him. Usually, whenever the Torah speaks, Hashem appears to someone, he says to him, I am this and this, I am Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak, Yaakov. There's no communication. It appears to him. So Rashi himself immediately cites Chazal, the Gemara, Levaker Zachola. It's a sick visit. Avram is 99 years old. He's recuperating from his circumcision. And it's the 3rd day of the circumcision. After the circumcision, the most difficult day of recovery. Therefore, Hashem is paying a sick visit. It was the 3rd day after his circumcision. Hashem is coming to ask about his welfare. Bika Cholim. The Gemara tells us in the Dorim that if a person visits a person who's sick, he's doing a chesed. So why is it a chesed? He'd say because man is not well and you seek him out. That you come and visit, that acknowledgement gives the person some level of comfort. That's chesed. Therefore, the Gemara tells us that if you overdo, you overstay your welcome, you're doing the wrong thing. People sometimes they come and they forget when to leave, and they're burdening the person. So it seems over there, that's what it's the comfort that you're providing for the person by visiting him. But the Gemara says, in addition to the other things, if a person's ben gilo, if you're born under the same star as that person, and you visit the person, you take 1/60th of his illness. The visitor is taking 1/60th of the illness of the person you're visiting. So actually coming, it's part of the healing process. You provide something which is beneficial to the patient because he's less sick. And why is it chesed? Because factually, to a degree, the visitor is compromised health-wise. If you take 1/6, not that it affects the person to any degree, but factually, you walk away less whole than you were before you came, if you are ben gilo. So besides the comfort level that you're giving to the person who's not well, in addition, if you are ben gilo, you're taking away 1/60 of his illness. So if that's the case, just coming, it's not even any level of communication with the person. Just being there, you extract, you're drawing out from him 1/60. That Kodesh Baruch Hu is Rofei Kol Basar Bafli Lasos. Hashem, as we conclude the Bracha Sheyotzar, he's Rofei Cholim, as we say in the Shmon Esrei. He heals the sick. and he's Rofei Kol Bosher Mafli Lasos. If the Creator Himself comes Himself and allows the person to be exposed to His presence, how much more so? That's part of the rehabilitative process. So one does not have to have any communication. He came purely, it was Bika Chodim, to heal Avram Avinu. Okay? But you see, the healing is not a full healing. Why? Because we find the three Malachim who came in human form soon in a moment, one of them was Raphael, right? If Hashem's Bika Cholim is the equivalent of a full recovery, what do I need Raphael, the Malach of healing, to come to visit Avram? He came specifically, as it says, L'Rapos. L'Rapos is Avram Avinu. That's what he came for. So, but nevertheless, the coming to visit Hashem's, being exposed to Hashem's presence, is beneficial to Avram, although there's no communication. But lo ne mamre, hu shenoselo eitzel amilo fichoch niglolem bechelko. That why does the Torah make it a point in whose property it was, whose domain it was? Because he was the one who advised Avram on the Milo. Therefore, Hashem appeared in his chelik. Now, we read in Novi that the ark was taken into captivity by the Philistines in time of David HaMelech, and then afterwards, the Plishtim, the Philistines, there was a plague, and they just let it go, and it came back into the vineyard of a non-Jew. And when it came back into his vineyard, all of a sudden, he started seeing levels of bracha, which is beyond anybody's imagination. Wealth. He had wives, children, 60 children. I mean, it was bounty, which was uncontainable bounty. And then after David found out, and this non-Jew shared with the Jews that he has the ark is in his domain, so that the ark is there automatically engenders this unlimited level of wealth. Because you're exposed, the ark, with the Aron, that's the Shechina. The Shechina is associated with the ark. Or it's the vessel, which, when it's in its proper location, the Shechina is there. Therefore, and David said to Hashem, he wanted to take it back, and that's when David danced in front of the Aron, the whole story with Michal Bashol. So over here, if Hashem is coming into the domain of Mamre, because he had advised Avram to do the Milah, therefore the Torah tells us he appeared in his domain. What's the value? The value is if Hashem at this level is appearing in the domain of Mamre, the effect of that is unlimited bracha, as we see over there. Now, what was the advice Avram he had given Avram to circumcise himself? So the Medrash tells us Avram wanted to know exactly. His three compatriots were on the Eshkol Mamre. He went to war with him when he defeated the
Four
mightiest kings. So he says to them, he was told to do Bilah, to circumcise himself. So he asked One, what should I do? He says, I don't think it's a good idea. Why? Because you realize you killed all these people in this war. When you circumcise yourself, you can be in a compromised position health-wise. You'll become infirm. And the relatives, the families, are going to come and they're going to try to kill you. And you're not going to be able to protect yourself. Therefore, I don't think you should. The other one said, One Eshkol says, I don't think you should do it publicly. You should do it in private. Why? Because it's something which is unheard of. Nobody's ever circumcised himself before. It looks like it's like self-mutilation. Keep it under wraps. Keep it quiet. Mamre says, you're worried that people are going to actually attack you when you're in a compromised position. Here you defeated 4 of the mightiest kings of the world, and Hashem was with you. You're going to worry about the families of those who you killed, their family. You have to worry about it. And if Hashem tells you to circumcise yourself, you have to do it on the QT. Nobody should know. You should let it be public. You have nothing to worry about. There's something to be proud of. That's what Mamre said. So Mamre was a different level than Oner and Eshkol. And because that's what Avram would have done in either case. Avram just wanted to know where each one of these people were at. He understood where Ane was at. His level of belief was not where it could have been. And Eshkol, the same thing. But Mamre, he's at a special level because he said it as he should understand it. But what we say Pella, it's astounding. He went to war with 318 men against the four mightiest kings. So the question is, was it only Eliezer? Because Eliezer, the gematria of Eliezer is 318, or no? Eliezer went, but he had, in addition, he had 318 people with him. But still, we're talking about the four mightiest kings defeated the five kings. So these are the powers of the world. Avram miraculously defeated them and destroyed them. How? So Chazal tell us, he took the sand, he threw it at them, it became like metal files. He took strands of wheat, it became like spears. Everything was a miracle. After seeing miracles at that level, how did the other one say? Other says, you can be a compromised position. What's going to be? You're going to what? You're going to be vulnerable to the attack of the families. And they may kill you. I mean, after that miracle took place, I mean, what Mamre said, you have to worry you're going to be vulnerable. After what you did, and you understand that Hashem is with you, you don't have to worry about anything at any level. So where were the other two people coming from? Evidently, they had some kind of blind spot that they couldn't fully internalize what they saw. First of all, who are on the Eshkol? They didn't do the battle. They weren't on the battlefield. They were Shomer HaKelim. If you remember, Rashi brings. They watched the weapons. They were behind the lines. That's where they were. They watched whatever they need, the provisions, they watched it. And they received the portion from the king of Sodom for what? For their service. Avram took nothing from the king of Sodom. Remember that Rashi, but they were Shomer HaKelim. So they weren't on front per se. So they didn't see the miracles take place as Eliezer did. Right? Eliezer was on the forefront, he was on the battlefront. He saw the Nisim. They came back, on Eshvat, they heard about the Nisim. They heard it. But they didn't actually witness the Nisim, the miracles. Mamre, just hearing it, he was affected by it. Oner and Eshkol weren't there, they heard about it, but they had this slight question. It wasn't as vivid and clear as Mamre. Therefore, they advised him as they advised him. Mamre was at a more advanced level, although he wasn't there, but he heard it. That he heard, it made that level of impact. Now, where do we find something similar? Vayishma Yisro, right? Beginning Yisro. Alan said to me, we start the parsha, but we never get past the beginning. We do the parsha, we're going to Shmos, and we're going to Dvorim, we're going to Bamidbar, we're doing all 5 Chamoshim simultaneously. Alan. Okay.
I'm glad you heard me, Rabbi.
I heard you well. Okay. It says, Vayishma Yishma, Mashmu Shamu. Why did Yisro, he was in his glory, why did he abandon his glory and come out to the desert? Kriyas Yamsuf Melchemes HaMolik. You heard the splitting of the sea, but the whole world also heard the splitting of the sea. The Chazal tell us that when the sea split, the water flowed thousands and thousands of feet into straight, it went vertically. Every person in that whole area, for literally hundreds and hundreds of miles away, saw the sea splitting. They saw the water cascading straight up. Besides, every body of water in the world split, according to Chazal. So everybody was aware of it. And we say in the Oz Yosher, Yigazu, Alufi Edom, Ele Moab, they were trembling. They may have trembled, but they didn't see what they weren't. They didn't witness the splitting. What the concern on the sea saw, Yecheskel did not see. When you see it, it's a different effect. They saw it. The world heard about it. They saw the Egyptians being destroyed. They trembled. Vulcan Kabul authority said, we're not interested. Chal Yisrael, because they witnessed Zekelim Aveyu, they said, Nasav Nishma. The same thing. On the Mamre, they heard. Mashmu Shamu Bo. He heard about Kriyas Yamsuf. He wasn't there. But because Yisrael already had served all the deities of the world, and he came to the conclusion of monotheism, he had the capacity to fully internalize what he heard. The world that were pagans, it wasn't enough to have that level of impact on him. Therefore, they may have trembled. But when they offered the Torah, have a relationship with Hashem, they said, no, thank you. We're not interested. Same idea. So that shows the greatness of Mamre. The Mamre didn't witness the battle. He was behind the lines, but hearing about what happened, seeing Avram coming back as the victor, that was enough that he should advise him. If Hashem says you to do this, of course you do. What's the question? You make it public knowledge. There's nothing to be ashamed of. You don't have to be concerned about what the world will say or what they won't say. It says he was sitting at the entrance of his tent. It was the hottest time of the day. So Rashi, the word Yoshev, the Vav is deleted. Who Yoshev? It's present. Grammatically, Yoshev is he's sitting presently. Yoshev, Yoshev Ksiv. Without the vowels, it's written as if it would say Yoshev. He sat. Bikish Lamod, he wanted to stand up to acknowledge the Shekhinah. Omla Kodesh Baruch Hu, Sheva Adi Evod. You sit, and I will stand. Vata Similo Anecho, and you're an indication for the future of your children. Shasa Ani Lisyatsi Badas Adayonim Ben Yoshvim. I will stand when the court, the Bezdin convenes, and the judges sit in judgment. I will stand, and they will sit. Shenemar Elokim Nitza Badas Kel. You know, it's interesting. As we said, that if the Bezdin meets all the criteria of the court, the judgment, the verdict is emes labito shel Torah. It's true. It's truth. What about human error? Right? The court decides the person should be put to death. There's a chance. The person may be innocent. Maybe the evidence was not truthful. So he said, well, there was an interrogation. Torah says you have Drisha Chakira. But still, you have such a thing as Edim Zoman, right? You have conspiring witnesses. As much as you interrogate witnesses, there's always a possibility that he lied. And you may be putting an innocent person to death. And the Torah is the ultimate. So how does the Torah allow a process, a system, which maybe people may be innocent and they're being victimized as a result of the system? And the Torah is Torah Hashem Tmimo. It's perfect. So we've said many times, El Kim Nitzav Das Kel, that every Bezdin that meets the criteria which Hashem sets, the Bezdin, they see through the eyes of Hashem. Hashem is associated with that verdict. So if the person is found guilty, even though he may have not committed this crime to be deserved put to death, Hashem says this man has to die. So the verdict is emes, it's truth. And do what the evidence not. But the process through which he's being put to death, he's guilty, he must have his life taken. And that's why he's being put to death. So every decision of the court, if they meet the criteria that Hashem sets, it's a din emes. Even though not for this reason, whether you pay, whether a person gets lashes, whatever it is, it's because Elokim needs of that scale. Hashem stands together with the Bezdin, so when they process it, it's more than the human intellect. There's divine intervention that they see through the eyes of Hashem. Therefore, every verdict, it's not possible there's a mistake. Because if you follow the protocol Hashem sets, it's always din emes. But it's interesting. Never touch me like now. It says, you sit and I will stand. Like the pasuk says, Elokim nitzo badaskel. Hashem stands in the daskel when the court convenes and the Bezdin, the Dayanim, they have to be sitting. They're not supposed to stand. The defendants stand before the court. But the court, they sit. They sit and what? And the defendant stands. But not only does the defendant stand, Elokim nitzov. As it says here, Hashem says, Atoshev adi emot, and I will stand. What's the understanding? Why can't Hashem sit as they sit? But kaviyocha, whatever it means, they stand. He stands and they sit. Mark tells us in Shavuos that although there's a halacha that witnesses, when they come to testify, they stand before the court, or let's say a defendant has to stand before the court as a defendant. If the person is a Talmud Chacham, he sits. He's permitted to sit. Why? Because since there's a mitzvah, it's a question, it says, Es Hashem Elokecha Tira. So that becomes an overriding factor that they're permitted to sit. They don't stand. The defendant sits, does not stand. So why? Because normally, when you stand before the court, you stand before the Shechina. The Shechina is there. So it's inappropriate. How do you sit? But since the Talmud Chacham himself, he is the Shechina, I'll give you an example. A person goes Hagbo, right? Person goes Hagbo, you have two Sifrei Torah. The first person who took the first Sefer Torah is sitting with the Sefer Torah. Does he stand when the Sefer Torah is lifted? He doesn't stand. He sits. Why? Because he's holding the Sefer Torah. Since you're holding the Sefer Torah, you don't have to stand. If you're not holding the Sefer Torah, you're sitting, you have to stand to acknowledge the Sefer Torah is being lifted. So the Talmud Chacham comes before the court. Why does the defendant stand? Because he's standing for the Shechina. But what about if you are the Shechina? The Shechina is where you are. You have no reason to stand. You could sit. And that's the overriding factor. Just that's the reason. But an ordinary person has to stand. He's standing for the Shechina. So I was thinking just now, there's so many laws which pertain to a Bezdin. It says, lo sugurim yish, lo sikach shochad. There's so many things that if you have any conflict of interest, you're immediately disqualified as a judge. So the judge is to be qualified and feel that they're totally objective, that they're going to be totally impartial. It's not so simple. You have to be at a special level. Being at that level, they deserve that acknowledgement. So the Elokim Nitzav Daskel, that Hashem stands in the congregation of Kel, referring to the Bezdin. This Bezdin is worthy, the Shechina should be in the midst. So the standing indicates the acknowledgement of how special these people are. When you stand for someone, you're acknowledging who they are. Even if they're mortals, these people are more than mortals. They're qualified, the Shechina should be associated with them. Because what they have to be able to contend with within themselves as human beings, they're at that special level. Therefore, even the Shechina stands for them. That's Elokim Nitzav al scale. He's standing. Ato Shev and Ani Emot. Ato Simul Bonecha. You'll be assigned for your children in the future. When the Bezdin convenes, I will stand and they will sit. I'd mentioned in the past that when we say Friday night, we say Frosel and Shuka Shlomecha in the bracha right before we say V'shamnu. There's a custom when you say Frosel and Shuka Shlomecha, you should spread upon us the sukkah of your peace. You're supposed to stand up. Why? So the Shari Tshuva cites the Arizal, that Arizal at that moment would stand. Why? Because when you say Frosel and Shuka Shlomecha, that's when the Shechina enters on Shabbos. So to acknowledge the Shechina entering into this world, when you say first lane Sukkah, what's the Sukkah Shlomecha? That's the Shechina. We stand to acknowledge that Shechina. So we stand. We stand to acknowledge the Shechina because the Shechina is coming into existence. Here, the court. So the defendants have to stand because the court is the Shechina is where the court is. There's halacha. The Gemara says that a person's deathly ill, you're not permitted to sit near his head. But the Shechina is by the head of a person who's deathly ill. You're not permitted, it's a disrespect. You're not permitted to sit there because the Shechina is there. That you have to stand. Sitting is a disrespect. To acknowledge that Shechina is there. So wherever the Shechina is, you stand. Therefore, the defendants, the Eidim, when they come, they have to stand. It's an acknowledgement of what's there. But the Shechina, relative to the Dayanim, the Shechina stands, Elokim Nitzav B'Daskel. Evidently, Abram normally didn't sit at the entrance of his tent. The Medrash tells us something interesting. Avram usually was busy continuously. Avram was world renowned. You know what it means to be hosted by Avram Avinu. It says that Avram Avinu, the Suda, the meal that he'd given to the Malachim, which he believed they were humans, that Suda Shlomo B'Shaito, Shlomo, the meal that Shlomo had at the height of his power, was not the equivalent of what he offered the Malachim over here, as we see. So who would want to come to the table of Avram? It was quiet. It was like a ghost town. Nobody was coming. So what does he say? He says to Eliezer, the dedicated servant of Avram. Eliezer, as we said, Damascus. He's a holy man. Avram says to Eliezer, go down the road. There's something not right today. There are no wayfarers coming down the road. Why? Go, look, find out what's going on. Maybe there's some people on the street and they need some directions how to get here. He goes down outside. He says there's not a person out there. Avram says, Eliezer, you're a liar. You're a liar. Why? It's a pretty strong accusation. You're a liar. You're lying to me. He says, no. He says, I'm going to see for myself. So Avram never had to go to the tent, and the tent people were just streaming into his house to get involved, to be hosted, hospitality, whatever it was. Eliezer says, no, there are no takers. He says, can't be, impossible. Avram says, I'm going to see myself. Firstly, why would Eliezer lie? Did Avram even think for a moment that he's lying to him? Right? Why? Because what was the objective of Avram? What was the whole value of hospitality? Hospitality wasn't for hospitality's sake. Hospitality was only the vehicle through which he convinced people to monotheism. As it says in Chazal, no person ever entered into Avram's home who entered as a pagan, left as not a non-believer. No such thing. Because after he would host them in this beyond elaborate level, the person say, thank you, Master Avram. He says, you shouldn't thank me. I'm not the master. There's another master. He said, who's the master? And this was the opening to enter into this dialogue. By the end of the conversation, this person was convinced, and every aspect of paganism was refuted. And he was a committed monotheist. That was Avram Avinu. So the hospitality was only a vehicle. So if that's the case, every moment that people didn't come, Avram Avinu feels all these pagans around. It doesn't make any sense. So why is Eliezer telling me there's nobody out there? Because since I'm 99 years old and I'm convalescing, he doesn't want me to be burdened. He means l'shem shamayim. Eliezer means l'shem shamayim. He's protecting me. Eliezer, you're lying to me. Because he believed, because Eliezer was, and he valued and esteemed Avram to be who he was. Eliezer, the dedicated evet, servant, slave, chattel, is protecting his master. Avram says, not possible. I can't accept what you say to be truth. He goes to the entrance to the tent and he's looking every direction. And he sees nobody coming down there. All of a sudden, he sees 3 wayfarers coming down the road. So Rashi will see in a moment, because Avram was pained that he couldn't do kiruv. Because every moment that a person was a pagan out there, to Avram Avinu, the pain was beyond tolerable. Hashem sent angels, abalochem, b'tzur sanoshim, in human form. And when he hosted them, he thought he was hosting human beings. But in fact, they were malachim. That's why he was sitting Pesach Kechom Hayom. Because with Chom Hayom, Hashem had taken the sun out of its sheath to discourage people from coming exactly for this reason. And that was Eliezer's objective. That's what he believed. But Hashem saw that the pain was so overwhelming. As a result of that, he sent the Malachim B'tzur Sanoshim in human form for that reason. One of the Rosh Hashivas of Panovich, initially, when the Panovich Rav hired Rosh Hashivas, his name was Rav David Parvarsky, Zecher Tzadik Levrocha. He was a world-renowned Talmud Chacham. He was a Talmud of Reb Shimon Shkop. He learned in Grodno, Rav Shimon Shkop's yeshiva, and he was one of the Rosh Yeshivas. He lived till mid 90s, upper 90s, and he was a widower already, and he was living in his home by himself because he was older. One of the Talmidim of Ponovich would actually sleep in the apartment with him to attend. He was an older man. He was infirm, and he was, whatever his needs were. This yeshiva student would attend to all his needs, to be there. And he was older, and he wasn't well. And he was so not well, the doctor gave instructions that he should not leave the home because he may want to go to the base medrash. And just going there and exerting himself, that's the reason, could put his life into jeopardy. Therefore, the student should watch guard on the door of the apartment. He should not let him out of the apartment. Okay? One night, about 3 a.m, Reb David Parvarsky is getting dressed. So the Talmud asks, this yeshiva student asks Reb David Parvarsky, one of the Rosh Zaponovich, where's the Rosh Yeshiva going? He says, I'm going to the Beis Medrash. He says, the doctor says you can't go because the exertion could actually put your life in jeopardy. He says, I'm going. So if he says he's going, the student can't stop him from going. So morning comes and he shares the information with the family and they should share this with the doctor. So the doctor hears what happened. He says, I want to tell you something. Restraining him not to go was more dangerous than keeping him in the house. He wants to go, let him go. Avram Avinu, what was Hashem's intent? To take the sun out of its sheath, to discourage people from not coming. At least Avram could convalesce. But now Avram is more stressed and pained by not having, because every moment that there's a pagan in the world, he's not able to make a difference in that person's life. The pain is so overwhelming. Therefore, he's better having the people come. It's not because he's being relieved to be able to do that, to do what he wants to do. That's the understanding with Avram Avinu, as it says. Pescha o liros im yeshovim sham yachnisu lebeso. Hotzi HaKadosh Baruch Hu chami nartiko. Shalachicha b'orchim. Hashem had taken the sun out of the sheath, that he shouldn't be burdened with guests. Ufi shero mitztaer shlohoi orchim boim. When Hashem saw that Avram was pained that the guests were not coming, Hashem brought angels in human form that he should believe that these are just ordinary wayfarers, that he should do his kiruv on them. That's the understanding. Give you an example, a havdil. A person, when he sees a good deal, he sees the good deal, business-wise. And here he sees this deal, one of a lifetime opportunity. And for some reason, and the man is not just greedy. He's not a greedy person. He wants the deal in the worst way because if he has financial means, he's able to do tremendous things for Torah, mitzvahs, and everything else. And he loses the deal. The deal is snatched away from him. How does the person feel? Here he believed he would have this deal, he'd be able to do this, build a yeshiva, support kolim, feed the poor, whatever. And all of a sudden now, it's not happening. Is he pained? He's pained. Why is he pained? Here he thought he had the deal, he doesn't have the deal. Because the deal would have facilitated and given the ability to do all these great things. But you realize you do the deal, you're going to be tied up day and night for the next 6 months. It doesn't make a difference. But if my whole purpose and my mission is that's what life's all about. As they say, no pain, no gain. That's the way it goes. That's life. Jay knows that. Right? No gain, no pain. No pain, no gain. Avram Avinu, he exists for Kovod Shamayim, to bring God's presence to the world. They should understand who is the Balabira, who's the master of this universe. Hashem. All of a sudden now, all these pagans are high on the hog, believing that it's the sun, the moon, all these deities are actually, he's beneficiaries of them. But Hashem's the Balabayas. He's the master. So to see this, he's pained beyond. All my wealth is only, that's its purpose, the hospitality. But the value of all the wealth I have is only for that. And if I'm not able to do that, and it's a chil Hashem, every moment I'm not involved, Avram's pained. That's, so he was mitztayer, shlohei orchem boim. Here, so what did it bring out? It spoke volumes who Avram is. You come into a person's house and he's distraught. You say, why are you distraught? You know, we're in the middle of a sugya. I thought my chavrusa would come. I just got a call. He came down with the flu. He can't come. So we can't continue in the sugya, learning that subject matter. So what does it say about that person? It tells the person his avas Torah, his love for Torah and his involvement, the way he experiences it. It's on an impressive level. How many people say, you know, something I could have used the extra sleep anyway. I'll go to bed earlier. He's not showing up. But people, each one, he may go to sleep early, but with the question, what's the initial reaction if he's not coming? Is it like losing the deal? Or is it like, now I have the extra time. I don't have to be busy for the next 6 months.